All right. Good morning. Welcome back. We're back here in the studios, Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas. Keep in mind, they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 noon, the service department is open. So if you can't get out during the week to get your truck, car, SUV worked on, they again are here on Saturdays to help you. Austin Futrell and the crew do a fantastic job. Got a great show lined up today. Jimmy Hodge is with us, and Mitch Davis of the MitchDavisShow.com joins us from Memphis. And in the second segment, Yancy Porter will check in from Oxford. Top of the second hour, we'll go to Nashville. Johnny Ballpark Franks will check in with his wit and wisdom, the big picture of college football, FSU, the Heisman, and in the fourth segment, Rocky Top Tennessee tailgate report from Knoxville. Mark Hamm will step in and talk about the Volunteers, who are getting a lot of people lining up to pull and yell for the Big Orange this year. I know Roman Harper's picking them to win 10 games. We had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. Roman knows his football, so something there. We're with you 8 to 10 a.m. Central, 9 to 11 a.m. east of the Chattahoochee. Look forward to having you make your comments. If you are watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, feel free to make comments. And remember, follow us, like our business page on Facebook. Mitch Davis, great job. Everybody out there, take time to go to the MitchDavisShow.com. Mitch did an interview earlier this week with legendary, one of my all-time favorite football coaches, Georgia football coach Vince Dooley. And Mitch, you're getting everybody on your show. You got Tim Brando coming on. I mean, you are like, kind of Maury Gaston, our good friend down in Alabama, the Merv Griffin of this stuff. You're the connector. You're getting everybody. What's on your mind?
Rob, thank you so much for having me on. It's always an honor. Love coming on with you and having you on my show in return. Hopefully going to have you on. I'll talk to you about that. Maybe tonight or early next week, do a little Twitter space, talk a little Alabama, fun. Auburn. I got an Alabama guy that I think would be a lot of fun to do a live show between the Auburn side and the Alabama side leading up to football. Other than that, Roman Harper, I love him to death, but he's crazy as heck for picking Tennessee to win 10 games. And Memphis is going down to Starkville to beat Mississippi State next week. That's how I'm going to start the show, and that's I'm going to start big and bold.
Well, last year, we remember that game was an interesting game. Memphis won the game. You got 60 minutes to get the job done. Most games are decided on 4 or 5 plays. That one certainly was. And we talk a lot of SEC, we talk Big Ten, AAC, Sun Belt, Gulf South, especially bringing on Dave Schultz down in Mobile, who really is right there on top of South Alabama. There's good football everywhere. The last 9 years, Memphis has had success. And, listening, you would think sports radio everywhere in Memphis would be talking college football nonstop. And Memphis fans want to get in the Big 12. They got a new president, Dr. Bill Hardgrave, came up from Auburn. He was the provost down, former dean of the College of Business. He's got a mission, Mitch. What if you are, let's talk about 2 things real quick. I want you to say, if you're a Memphis fan, what are you telling every friend of yours that's a fan of Memphis or says that they care about them? Aren't you telling them, get your butt out to every game you can get to, regardless of the opponent? Because if we show that kind of support, we're going to get in whatever the Big 12 becomes or whatever big conference out there, but we got to get in a league where we get a bigger check.
Rob, I don't think I can repeat what I'm telling my Memphis buddies and around the Highland 100. I'm basically saying get your butt in the seat and using some few explicit words in between because it really is so important. I talked to Coach Charles Clark last week, Memphis quarterback coach and co-defensive coordinator of the Memphis Tigers. Talked to him last week, and he was saying the same thing as, we got to get our butts in the seat. We got to get people out there. We got to get people excited about Memphis football. And honestly and truthfully, Rob, I don't understand why people aren't excited. Just like with my other school, University of Kentucky, on my dad's side, University of Kentucky, the football program has taken a ride of its own. The Cotton Bowl, I got to go down to Dallas 2.5 years ago, right before COVID. And magical trip for the program, magical trip for University of Memphis. And it's time for Memphis fans to realize that, hey, we've got a damn good football program here. Get out, support these guys. I know the home schedule is not what it once was last season, But man, we've got UCF coming in here. We've got Houston coming in here. We've got a rivalry in Arkansas State, which hopefully Rob, you and Miss Audrey will make the trip from Wynn back over to Memphis, like I've made over to Jonesboro. You guys got to come over to the game.
Look, here's a question you got to ask people of every fan base. Let's start with Memphis. Say Memphis is playing in the first game. It doesn't matter who are you a fan of, the team that Memphis is playing or Memphis. You're a Memphis fan. You're going to see Memphis play. Once people embrace that, things are going to get a lot better. But you cannot have a cafeteria fan base. I'll take some of that. I don't want that. I don't want that broccoli. Ooh, I'll take that greasy burrito. But that's what they've got to stop doing. You need 55, 60,000 people at every game if you want to get into a big conference. Now, I say that, but I think Jimmy would back me up on this one. Houston, Cincinnati, especially Houston, what do they draw? 25, 30,000 to their games? They got a ton of money. They're in a huge market. That's probably the biggest thing right there, Mitch.
Yeah, Robin, you know what's crazy is I actually talked to Tim Brando about this on my podcast that's going to be released. What's today? Wednesday, should be released probably Thursday or Friday, depending on, we're actually going to look at houses tonight. So it might be Friday before I get that out there. But Rob, I talked to Brando, and Brando was like, look, Memphis has the potential. Memphis has the potential. They did it in basketball in the 1980s, under Dana Kirk and Larry Finch. They did it in basketball. Their fan support is there. And no matter how bad Memphis football has gotten, the fan support has always been there. It's just honing in that, and we got to have crowds like we did against SMU a couple of years ago when Memphis hosted College Game Day. That was by far the greatest day of Memphis football history. I remember going to College Game Day, set up on the stage with one of my mentors, Dave Voloshin, love the guy, and he looked over to me. He's been doing this for 45 years, Rob. He said, "Man, this doesn't happen to Memphis. This doesn't happen often to Memphis." And he's like, enjoy the moment. And, and the same thing, him and I shared a moment out at the Cotton Bowl. We kind of looked at each other. We hugged. We embraced. And it's about, embracing this school, embracing the city. And I'm not afraid to admit, even though I have a press pass and I'm supposed to be professional, I'm not afraid to admit, hey, I'm a Memphis Tiger fan. Hey, I'm a Kentucky Wildcat fan because you know what? That's how I grew up. And honestly, Rob, just like you're an Auburn man, that's how you relate to your fan base. You relate to your fan base by saying, "Hey, I'm a fan myself." I know how you feel. I know the struggles you're going through as a fan, and I think that's what we lost in sports media right now.
Yeah, and you can't cheer in the press box. We all know the rules. It's a working press box. That's one thing the NCAA is real big on, and I get that, but it's good to be a fan. It's good to write, but I think what we need in journalism, for God's sakes, let's go back to square one. There are a lot of people just slapping crap out there. They're not looking at the grammar, sentence structure. It's one giant run-on sentence, a lot of this stuff. No periods, no commas. People judge you. Somebody's breathing. I don't know what that is, Darth Vader or something into the phone. But you got to practice good structure. But let's get true grit journalism. But it's okay to be a fan of your school. Jimmy, jump in here.
Yeah, well, with Memphis, they just got to come out of the gate strong and start winning. They're in a situation right now where possibly, in 2 or 3 years, an opportunity with the Big 12 could be in the offing. Bob Bowlesby did an incredible job in the aftermath of the bombshell of Texas and Oklahoma announcing that they were going to request a membership into the SEC, and he salvaged the situation. I really think with ESPN dropping out of the Big 12, the Big 10 TV negotiations, that frees up some money opportunities for the Big 12 and for the Pac-12 going forward, but especially the Big 12, where I think maybe ESPN could partner or work out a negotiation situation with the Big 12 to maybe chip in on some of this exit fee money for Texas and Oklahoma to leave early, because it seems like the formation of the future Big 12 is really already set. You might as well just get that going as soon as you can. So Memphis would be, I think, a prime candidate. But yeah, it would really help in football for them to have a strong season and to, as much as anything, just show significant improvement as as the season goes along. I don't think they're going to win in Starkville, but
Well, they play the game.
Yeah, that's why they play the games. Anything can happen. I think Mike Leach has made sure, though, that officiating crew that was in Memphis last year won't be in Starkville. But it'll be an entertaining game, I think. And just with a strong showing, I think Memphis would, build some momentum, because they have a chance at looking at the schedule. I mean, I know there's Houston and Cincinnati will still be in the league for at least this next year and possibly the next two. But, they have an opportunity to have a really strong season. And I think if there was ever a year they need to be able to do that, it's right now, just for positioning purposes, to, be prepared to make another presentation if the Big 12 decides to expand, because geographically they would be, they would be a good fit. They're close to a lot of schools, and I think it would be a good opportunity for them.
Yeah, Jimmy, those are great points. And Mitch, this is again it. Memphis has got to get away from this being a we can't do it city to a we will do it city. And there's too many people that, they just have this defeatist attitude. They're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Get rid of them. Just, to hell with you. Go move to France. That's where all the weird people move to. Anyway, if you got a child that you're like, God, he's got green hair and a nose ring, he's living in France, San Francisco, or Greenwich Village. Okay. I mean, I love Memphis. I am from Memphis. And there's so many people that like one of our sponsors here, Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas. And that's John Dobbs Jr. is part of the Red River Auto Group from Memphis. And their family's been in Memphis a long time. They support Memphis. I mean, you've got so many people, Mitch, that reach out to them. I would be writing articles and just, pleading with people, pleading with them and saying, if you want this is what the blueprint looks like. You got to follow through. You can't just sit on your butt and complain. The grumpy old guy, khaki pants and a Madras shirt with a scowl on his face. That's what everybody needs to learn how to sell to. Once you can sell to that guy, you can sell to anybody, Mitch.
Exactly, Rob. And the thing about Memphis is we have the potential here. I'm going to say we, because I'm a Memphis kid. We have the potential. Look at all the schools. I went and watched MUS in Arlington on Friday night. MUS won, but they have a lot of kids. They have a lot of kids that maybe not are going to go to your Ole Misses or your Tennessees or your Mississippi States. There are kids in this city that are damn good athletes that don't get all the way to the SEC level, that maybe are diamonds in the rough. Look at all the guys that Memphis has produced over the last 10 years. Look at Anthony Miller, who was a walk-on. You look at DeMonte Coxey. He was under-recruited. Paxton Lynch made it to the NFL. Brady White, look at what Brady White has done. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Tony Pollard is another one that I come back to. D'Angelo Williams, even before that, was an under-recruited guy.
From Wynne, Arkansas, I might add.
Yeah, exactly. And then look at, my childhood. You got D'Angelo, Danny Wimpron, Sonny Dukes. Oh my gosh, that was my favorite receiver ever. I think his name was Sonny, but I knew his last name was Dukes because every time he'd make a big, he would go Dukes. Memphis football has always been there, and they've always been underfunded. They've always not been the prodigy child of Memphis athletics. Same thing with Kentucky. But I tell people all the time, and Rob, Jimmy, you know this, or the audience knows this, I am more of a Memphis football and a Kentucky football fan than I am Kentucky basketball or Memphis basketball. I watch the basketball program and support it. That's great. But I'm more of a I'm more of a college football fan of those two schools than the basketball programs.
Look, Mitch, we're gonna go to a break, and I'm telling you right now, we have these discussions with fan bases and people that cover them all over the place, mainly in the South. And what moves the needle is football. You can't just have this. I'm a Memphis basketball fan. Hey, man, what do you just love? One of your kids? You've got more than one kid. Football, basketball. You got to love the university. We're going to talk about that and Kentucky after this quick break on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Brown, Wednesday morning. Wow. Wednesday morning, August 24th. We are 10 days, 240 hours away from the start of the college football season. Yet, you listen to a lot of the radio and there's people talking about NBA and all this stuff. Hey, it's college football season, man. Get the memo. That's what we're talking about, college football. Mitch Davis with us. Mitch, you disappeared there during the break. Audrey goes, his face disappeared. I don't know where he went. Like, where'd he go?
I have a brand new puppy, Rob, that is a pain in the butt. It really is. That's why I was late coming on the show today, because she decides that she wants to grab my work shoe and just dart. And I'm like, oh my God. So she,
yeah. They'll take everything you got. But I'll tell you right now, this discussion about when people go dark on these StreamYard deal, it looks like you're in the witness protection program. We have to put that voice on there where you're going,
I was a Memphis fan for 20 years.
We can't see you except a silhouette. I always wonder who came up with all that stuff. But look, Jimmy made some great points about this big. The ESPN is out of the contract negotiations with the Big Ten. They bowed out. NBC, CBS, and Fox are really ruling the roost there. But again, that gives them money to do other things. Now let's see what they do. The ball's in their court. Again, doesn't matter who you're playing. You are a supporter of the University of Memphis or Ole Miss or Mississippi State, regardless of who the opponent is. Yeah, you don't want to play, the Sisters of the Poor every week, but you're going to have games when it's a serious mismatch. And if you don't want to go and you've got tickets, give them to somebody that will go. It could change their life for the positive. Let's flip the switch. Talk about the Kentucky Wildcats. Look, a lot of people are just in love with Kentucky. I mean, and they've won 10 games twice in the last 4 years. But last year, the big game at Georgia and Arkansas went over there and got the same, rude treatment. But you gotta get over that hump. You got Georgia coming up there. I think that game is coming up. Oh, wow. October 19th. No, it's November 19th.
I've got it circled about 4 times because if Kentucky – here's the thing about Kentucky. And, Rob, you're an Auburn fan and you've been through the expectations of the preseason. I don't know how to act. I personally have no idea how to respond to this hype and this excitement as a Kentucky fan because – we're not used to this. We're used to it in basketball. We're used to it, But in football, this is a legitimate shot for Mark Stoops and his team to get to a Catlanta where I love calling it Catlanta back in the old basketball days. Catlanta. But good God, Rob, we start the season, we start with Miami, Ohio on that Saturday, and then week 2 we literally go to Gainesville to play the Florida Gators. If Kentucky can start the season 2-0, October 1st could be the real difference maker in the season when Kentucky travels to Oxford at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium to take on the Ole Miss Rebels.
Well, the way you handle those expectations is act like you've been there before and just keep grinding and do what you do. I mean, expectations. The media can be picking your school to go 7-5 or 6-6, but if a fan base like Auburn, or Alabama, Georgia, LSU have been and won a national championship, that's what they want every year. Again, once you eat at the best steakhouse in town, the CK's is just the $3 steak is just not going to cut it anymore. And no matter what you say, but that's a good thing. Jimmy, put a dose of reality or throw some cold water on Mitch. But no, Mitch, it's a good thing to expect to win every game, because if you don't, why are you playing them? Jimmy?
Well, Kentucky's got a great opportunity in Gainesville because they will be coming off maybe their toughest season opener in memory. Utah, who's I think ranked in the top 10 preseason, or if not, it's 11 or 12. They were in the Rose Bowl last year. They're the heavy favorite to win the Pac-12 this season. They got a very good quarterback in Cameron Rising. That's a great name.
That is a great
coming back, he's another one of those quarterbacks that started his career at Texas and then went on to better things. But anyway, even if Florida plays well, it's likely to be a very physical game, and and bouncing right back the next week to play a Kentucky team that has a lot of confidence, coming off a second 10-win season in 4 years. I mean, with a veteran quarterback who had a really strong year last year, who's really up there on the food chain with NFL scouts. I mean, it's a great opportunity for Kentucky. So it'll be really interesting just to see what happens on both ends. I mean, nobody's expecting Florida to win, but there's a lot of enthusiasm. Richardson has a very high ceiling at quarterback. Napier, even though it doesn't do him any good right now, is really making great strides already on the recruiting trail. So there is a lot of optimism in Gainesville, and they have a lot of good players. Maybe they just needed somebody to light a fire under them because, the Mullen season last year just kind of fell apart and just got worse as the season went along. So we'll see what kind of energy Florida plays with against Utah, and I think it'll be at a very high level. But what will be more important is the quality of football they play, and I think they've got a number of guys that haven't played much, so it'll be kind of on-the-job training. But if they're competitive in that Utah game and even maybe have a chance to win and don't win the game, that could really put them in a good frame of mind to face a Kentucky team that they know is good. And Kentucky, I mean, everything's in front of them. They know they have a great opportunity coming into Gainesville. Got a lot of good players coming back. And again, I think if they can win in Gainesville, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if they did, then they have a great chance of being 5-0 going into Oxford. And again, you just never know. You never know, even with the heavyweight programs, what the injury situation might be as the season goes along, to what players at what positions and for how long those players are out. So everything's on the table. But if I'm a Kentucky fan, I'm really looking forward to this 2022 season.
Yeah, Mitch, along that line, Florida, we know they're look, everybody in the SEC's got players, and everybody Kentucky plays has players. I mean, let's be realistic. But what is your expectation against Florida and Georgia? So you've got Georgia's the one. Tennessee last year came up in less than 15 minutes of time of possession on the road at night in Lexington got the win. I mean, you solve one problem, another one pops up, and South Carolina, Kentucky's really had their way with them, but there's you can't just say, okay, we got this one done, we'll take a break, can you?
Yeah, exactly, Rob. And honestly, as a Kentucky fan, I haven't even looked towards Georgia right now. I'm looking at that week 4, week 5 matchup with Ole Miss. That is
Right.
Ole Miss. Realistically, you have to put yourself on an equal measuring stick to certain programs that are building. I put our measuring stick at the University of Kentucky against Ole Miss and Arkansas right now. All right, what are those programs doing that are building? What are those programs doing that we're not at Kentucky? And I think when you look at the Ole Miss matchup, Ole Miss got the better of Kentucky. COVID year, they came into Lexington, got an overtime win with their Lane Kiffin's first game as a head coach, blah, blah, blah. Kentucky has a massive opportunity to go into Oxford. That game is going to be a sellout crowd, potentially college game day if both teams are 4-5-0, ranked inside the top 15, top 10. College game day could be there in Oxford. I'll be down there all day. I'm gonna be actually all there all weekend. But that really, I love Oxford. God, I love that place. But
I do too.
I won't disclose what goes down in Oxford, and my fiance watches this show, so I can't exactly talk about the beauties of Oxford, but it's a great place, Rob.
A lot of singing, a lot of good hymnals and gospel. That's
oh my God, all the let the whiskey let the whiskey and milk and honey flow from our lips down there in Oxford. That's a great place.
Yeah, it is. Mitch, this is the crazy thing. You said as a barometer, you want to check Kentucky against what they're doing at Arkansas and what they're doing at Ole Miss. That's very good. And then you look at Ole Miss and Arkansas, and they're saying, we got to beat Alabama. We got to beat Auburn. And that's so when you get one thing accomplished, there's another one popping up. It's fair to say, Mitch, that SEC, it's like whack-a-mole. You hit one, the other one pops up. I mean, that's
without a doubt, Rob. And what's crazy is you look at a program. Let's take Ole Miss, Arkansas, Kentucky, since we're talking about those programs. They beat each other. Let's say Kentucky goes, they beat Ole Miss, they beat Tennessee, and beat Mississippi State this year, which is all before Georgia. Then you get to November 19th, and you're going, all right, now we get the Bulldogs. Now we can start talking about the Bulldogs. But before somebody once told me, how do you eat an elephant, Rob?
One bite at a time. That's what we did.
Exactly. Rome wasn't built overnight. I'm perfectly okay with, enjoying this process, enjoying this time, just like I did back when Memphis made the Cotton Bowl. I didn't look ahead to SMU, didn't look ahead to Cincinnati. I took each and every game, went to all the games, went to 2 road games that year. And this year, planning on going to 2 road games with the Cats, going to Mizzou and going to Ole Miss with my father, who we didn't think we were going to get to go to a game last year. So we're going to take 2 guys trips, just the 2 of us, to go see the Ole Miss and the Missouri game. I'm really looking forward to that. So that's kind of where we are with Kentucky. Everybody wants to measure us to Georgia. Let's pump the brakes. Let's get through Florida first, and then let's get through Miami, Ohio first, who's a good team. They're picked second in the MAC. It's going to be a great matchup. Kentucky always struggles with those Miami, Ohio teams. That Miami, Ohio team is a very sneaky team this year. And if we're looking ahead to Florida in week 2, we could very well get beat there at Kroger Field on Saturday, September 3rd.
Mitch, you're not too far removed from being in college. Look at the season. You got 12 games. It's a 12-chapter book. Don't skip from chapter 1 to chapter 5 or chapter 7, because you'll miss everything from chapter 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the best approach that I use. And what happens on week 1 has a lot to do with the way you approach and play in week 2. You got to be careful also about letting week 3, if you lose, beat you again in week 4, because you can't get over it. People talk about the short, 24-hour rule after a big win. You better have less than that after a loss. You got to be.
Exactly, Robin. That's something that Bill Belichick always preaches. He preaches, do your job, do your job, do your job. If we do our job, the pieces will fall together. In Kentucky on November 19th, if we beat Georgia, I guarantee you, Rob, I will be spending an ungodly amount of money on an SEC championship ticket just to go see Kentucky have that opportunity to play Alabama for an SEC championship.
Yeah, it will be fun. Mitch, great stuff as always, having you on here. True Grit Journalism. having, I love what your take on Memphis and the Kentucky. They're both programs that have a lot of success in basketball, trying to get it going in football. And I think the fans need to get as mad after a loss in football as they do in basketball, and they're well on their way to success. Tell them how they can follow you, and we'll do it again next week.
Yeah, themitchdaviссhow.com. You can find my Vince Dooley article / interview. Then Mitch Davis _8 on Twitter, and then the Instagram and Facebook, The Mitch Davis Show. Going to be doing live shows throughout, and possibly working on like a tailgate show when we're on Tiger Lane or something, and having guests like yourself and other people, maybe even in the Grove, and doing live shows and talking college football, because that's what us Southerners and what us good Americans do every day, every Saturday.
Yeah, talking college football, drinking whiskey and Jack Daniel. I mean, okay, I'll do it. Have a great day, man. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Yancy Porter, we were just talking about, Mitch is all fired up about going down to Oxford for the Kentucky game. He said it's heaven, and it really is an incredible place. You live there, and you're calling in today, and like to have you, always StreamYard or call in so we can see Yancy. But Yancy, 240 hours away from start date of the college football season, man. And I keep up with that. People say, that is if you're keeping track. You're damn right I do. I mean, you ride around and you listen on the radio and there's people talking about stuff other than college football. Jimmy and I both have just been shocked at that. I mean, what else is there to talk about besides college football? Now, in mid-October, we'll delve a little bit into basketball, but like we did last year. We did a full court press with basketball. We've got awesome basketball coverage. Our guests are just absolutely incredible, like we do in college baseball and recruiting. But Yancy, you can just feel it right now. They're ordering extra chickens. I've never seen a chicken on a stick at a poultry farm, but chicken on a stick at the Chevron station, man. I love Oxford, Mississippi. I love going down there. I love my Ole Miss friends. They love their school, and now they got him a damn coach, man. I love Lane Kiffin's enthusiasm, his wit, and the guy just wins.
Yeah, I think right now, Rob, it's just all about who's going to be the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the question that has not been answered yet, and Lane admittedly has said, as late as the last 24 hours, it is going back and forth. He joked about his son, always ask him every day, come on, Dad, who the quarterback's going to be. Let me know. He's like, I really don't. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I really don't. That's really the only thing that kind of concerns me to this point is that it doesn't appear that one of the three has separated from the others.
Yeah. Well, Yancy, we got a name for people like Coach Kiffin with that. They can't make that decision. Committophobe. It's just, but you don't want to have two or three. You're right. You're 10 days away from the start, and your linemen and everybody need to all get used to the cadence of that starting quarterback. That's critical. People don't think about that, but you get out 90, 100,000 people in a stadium, you've got to get the cadence down, and that recognition is huge.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I don't think it's, a lot of people think that's, Lane is doing that, so one or two of the other quarterbacks don't transfer out before the season starts, like we see so much in college football now. But, I'm telling you guys, I've maybe 5 or 6 full scrimmages, and, the guy that I think's been the most consistent is not even the ones that people are looking at to start.
Right, hold that thought. Hold that thought. I want you to bring it up. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back with Yancy Porter on the Ole Miss quarterback battle.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Yancy, we've been waiting during that break. You were on to the last 4 or 5 scrimmages at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I was speaking about the scrimmages that I've attended. You know, all the talk is around Dart and Altmaier, but I think Den has been the most consistent. Now, the problem with that is, you know, he hasn't been running with the ones, excuse me.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, but then again, you know, just like my son, he's a little 15-year-old quarterback for his high school team. And when he runs with the threes, and sometimes with the twos, there's a big difference. So with the receivers and offensive line, so it can go back and forth. But you know, it's going to be Dart or Altmaier. You know, I think Altmaier is the safe choice, and I think Dart is kind of the wild card because he has such big playability in him. And you know, that's the question. But the good news is that the running game and the defensive line, the line of scrimmage period for Ole Miss is in really, really good hands right now. And the back end is. There's still question marks at linebacker because the top 2 or 3 guys consistently stay hurt in practice. But the wide receiver group has really come together. The second string offensive line is really coming together. So everywhere else is really, the pieces are coming together. Just really the big question still remains, who's going to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that you had a lot of schools bringing back their starting quarterbacks in the SEC, but then you're talking about Jackson Dart is more of a gunslinger. Lane Kiffin likes that go for broke approach with his quarterbacks. Altmaier, the safe choice, but ultimately you got to make the right choice, and it's not as easy as everybody thinks, especially and you're onto something. Not wanting to name a starter, they don't do it in the spring if they can help it. They want to keep those guys around all summer. Now you're trying to make sure they don't transfer before the first game, because we did have guys last year showing up the week before the first game that transferred in. And I mean, Florida had some defensive linemen show up like that last year. Tyrone Truesdale from Auburn. So that's something to think about. I think, Yancy, you're very observant.
Well, I think too, it's just really that close. I think, you know, one scrimmage or practice, Luke has the best one, and the next one Dart has it, and Den has it, and you know, Lane's looking at it as a good problem because he's got 3 capable guys. I really don't think Den is in that mix. I know at the past scrimmage he was not running with the ones at all, and you know, they were mixed again. Dart and Luke with the ones, so it's clearly going to be one of those 2. But you know, from top to bottom, 1 to 85, this is undoubtedly the most talented roster Lane's had at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and then you mentioned about the linebackers, you know, getting banged up. 10 days out, man. Now people are the guys are sick of hitting on each other. They're ready to hit people on another team. Jimmy, I know you got questions for Yancy, but Yancy, go ahead and answer that. I'm sorry.
It's going to be you know, it's a different season opener for Ole Miss because usually Ole Miss is in a neutral site, whether it's Boise State or Florida State or you know, Louisville last year. You know, it's a different kind of start to the season, but it's really kind of one that maybe is needed to let these new players mesh. You're talking about you know, 17 transfers, a dozen of them are you know, if not a starter, a rotation guy. I'll tell you another development that's happened, guys, is at left tackle. Mason Brooks appears to have lost his job. He was a transfer that came in from Western Kentucky, the number 2 rated transfer offensive lineman in the country, and a redshirt freshman, and Jaden Williams is beating him out. And it looks like Mason is going to be the swing guy. He can swing from left, right tackle, right guard, left guard. So he's going to be still very valuable for that offensive line. But, you can't, people talk about developing players still, and there's a case. You got a redshirt freshman that's, beating out a 4-year college starter. So, there's still hope for the high school and junior college players. I'll say that.
Well, the transfer portal, nobody's doing a better job in America, in my opinion, than Ole Miss. So that helps right there. Whatever you do in high school is gravy if you're Ole Miss with what they're doing currently with the portal. We know you couldn't sustain that with junior college players, but at least with the portal, I don't like it, but they have been in college. But coaches talk, and Jimmy, along those lines, Mac Brown talking last week on the Paul Feinbaum show, we got over 4,000 kids still in the portal, that need to be adopted. I mean, that's what it's like, Is there any team out there that wants to bring them in? Coaches talk. And typically if they're leaving, a lot of them have some problems, don't they?
Well, it just depends. I mean, the different scenarios are endless on what situations players are facing, whether it's they're playing behind future NFL players, so it's hard to, get on the field unless it's a blowout, or you have changes in the, coaching staffs, or, there's just all kinds of variables that take place. But, this is just going to continue to be a work in progress as this portal moves from year to year. But I couldn't help but laugh last night. I was watching the SEC Network, and Lane's doing his press conference, and can't imagine somebody asked him about who he thought the starting quarterback would be. But he did say that that Knox had questioned him or texted him about who's going to be the starting quarterback. You can tell me. I'm not going to let anybody know. I'm sure that would go well. Could you imagine that, your son saying, yeah, Dad, you can tell me, and I'll just keep it a secret from the entire college football world.
Sure, absolutely, no problem.
But yeah, I'd also heard that Kincaid had really looked good, during this preseason camp, and realistically, I think if he doesn't get much playing time, he's obviously going to be somewhere else next year. But I wanted to get your kind of assessment of his skills, because I've heard he's got a high ceiling. And again, even though you're talking about the third string quarterback, in today's world of college football, it doesn't take much for a couple of guys to go down, and all of a sudden you're looking at that guy, and it happens a lot more than you think it does.
Or, Jimmy, it doesn't take much if maybe they go with Dart or Altmaier, or get a look at both of them, and they're not really playing to the standard that Lane wants, and it gives Ben a try, game 3 or 4, and he takes off. I think Dent, I really think he's an SEC starter caliber quarterback. He's a true 6'5", 215, 20-pound guy. He runs a lot like Matt Jones, the old quarterback for Arkansas, where he's just got those, those horse strides, where every stride, every step is like 5 yards. He eats up. He's got such long legs, and he's not going to be Johnny Football quickness, but going straight line speed or getting going, he's as fast as anybody on the field. And arm talent wise, he's got as much as anybody. He's a very valuable piece to the team. And I'm really interested to see what he would look like with the ones. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. He's a guy, though, Jimmy, that I really do, given the chance, I think he is an SEC caliber quarterback.
From the eye test, Yancy, from what you've seen, And I think it's really neat that the media in Oxford has a chance to really get an accurate evaluation of how this team looks. Just from your viewpoint, being able to see them practice a lot, how do they fare as far as the eye test goes with you right now?
The eye test, they look like an Alabama, Georgia type physical on the hoof type team. I mean, they are a good looking bunch now. When you look at them coming out of the tunnel, so to speak, it's the most talent unquestionably that Lane has had, and that includes last year's 10-2 run. They've got that defensive line now. There might be a better defensive line or two, but there ain't gonna be many. That defensive line is downright nasty. They will be one of the top 2 or 3 units in the country, and I think that's what they're going to lean on. They're going to stop the run. They got a very, very good back end, and we all know they play 5, sometimes 6 DBs, and they can run the football. There's a lot of talent in that backfield and as well on that offensive line. So, anytime you're good on the line of scrimmage and you feel like you're as good as anybody on the line of scrimmage, you've got something to hang your hat on.
Well, you go in with a lot more confidence, and that hearing this about Ole Miss's defensive line that could be one of the top 2 or 3 in the country is such a surprise. But you've been on this, you've been seeing this coming for a while. I mean, we didn't just hear this today. And again, how that is so critical, because look at every team in the college football playoff. Look at their front 7 on defense, not just their starters, but you go 2 or 3 deep, Yancy. That is the key. And I look around at you don't think there are a lot of first round picks on that defensive line, but a lot of 2, 3, 4 rounders. That depth. I mean, when you start rotating entire units out there, as the game goes on, you're just killing your opponents. I mean, those offensive linemen just get tired of wrestling with guys with fresh legs. And you play a team. Look, everybody is struggling to find depth on the offensive line. And it's just a problem. I think it's the result of the hurry up, no huddle, and the emphasis is so much on wide receivers. They've become the prima donnas of college and pro football. They really have.
It started in pros.
It started in the pros. Yeah, it did. We don't need any more Antonio Browns, okay? And what Odell Beckham Jr. did on the sidelines in the national championship game when he was, down there when LSU was playing Clemson was downright stupid. And he's hurt his school. There's so many examples of guys like that. They're selfish. And so if you're an Ole Miss fan, you have got to be along the lines of what you and Jimmy just talked about in that, about the defensive line. Your confidence is really high. Okay, you're going on the road in week 3, and you're playing at Georgia Tech, downtown Atlanta, right there on Interstate 85, right across from the Varsity Inn. Great burgers and chili and cheese dogs. Not exactly the healthiest, but it's going to be a lot of fun. That's an opportunity the whole week to get the Ole Miss brand out there in recruiting. You went, last year with Louisville opening, the Chick-fil-A Classic. How much is this helping Ole Miss in recruiting in Georgia, especially in Metro Atlanta with 6.5 million people right in your back pocket?
Well, they're hopefully going to be picking up a wide receiver right there coming out in a couple weeks out of the Atlanta area. So, I don't know if that's going to be dividends from the Georgia Tech game. That's really relationships with the coaches.
Yeah.
But it always helps when you can get your brand out there into these communities that have so many players coming out. And we all know that the Atlanta metro area is as talent rich as anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
It's funny. Texas has got so many players in the Dallas areas. There's so many areas in Texas, but sometimes they're kind of like capped out, right? They're already at the ceiling when they get into college because they're so polished. Where you see some of these other, because they got more money, you get better coaching. Whereas states like Mississippi and even Georgia and Alabama, they're a little bit they're more raw and they got a little higher ceiling because they're not as polished. But Yeah, that Georgia Tech game is going to be a big game. I think they need to really, I don't know if manhandle is the right word, but they need to win convincingly to really get that momentum, because that Kentucky game is going to be absolutely huge here in Oxford. It's going to be as big as any in the last decade, because you're looking at a possibility of both teams being undefeated and possible top 10 teams, and really setting the course for the SEC schedule there for both teams with a lot of expectations. But you can't get ahead of yourself, and Kentucky does have a little bit harder schedule to get to that Ole Miss game than Ole Miss does getting to the Kentucky game.
All right. I've had a lot of people and got a text from a listener, Yule Gibbons down in Flowery Branch, Georgia. Yule said Ole Miss was going to do a $350 million renovation on the visitor side of the football stadium. And I heard they are going to take that money now and put it into NIL and other things. What about the donors who donated specifically for the stadium, yet they don't want to support NIL? What are they going to do? Interesting question from Yule Gibbons down in Flowery Branch, Georgia.
Well, first, it's the home side that they were going to redo. And remember, second, the colleges cannot get involved in the NIL, much less transfer the funds that have been raised to the NIL. I think that probably put Ole Miss on the death penalty bed right there if they did that.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about that what happened. And now what it does do, though, is there's a conflict of interest when you're trying to raise money for that stadium and also raise money for NIL. Where does the money go to? What they've done is Keith has said, we're going to put a hold on the project, and we're going to start it as soon as the last game had been played at the Vault this year against Mississippi State, the Cranes. We're going to start and knock that home side completely down to the ground. Now, those are still the plans, but they're going to put it all for one season and 1 year, because there is a possibility that the Mississippi legislature is going to start allowing the Mississippi schools to be involved in the NIL. And if that happens, then we'll see what they're going to do. They're still going to do something to the stadium. I can promise you that. Will it be a $350 million addition where they completely knock it all the way to the ground, which I wish they still would? I don't know. If the Mississippi legislation allows the schools to get involved in NIL, I'm sure they will have talks with the donors that have already donated that money and see if they would object to converting some of that to the NIL. Because remember, you still got to get the players now. That stadium, you play 7 days out of the year, and the rest of it just sits there. So it's a quandary, and we'll see what happens. But plans have just been put on hold for now.
Okay, Yancy, hold those thoughts. We'll come back after this break for one more question on Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Yancy, great. That's a great response. Yule Gibbons need to get your stadium question right. The home side of the stadium, not the visitor side. Yule Gibbons in Flowery Branch, Georgia. God, Yule the mule.
Again, Rob, I think if they do change some of the
project, I don't look for them to say they're not going to do anything to the home side. If they do convert some of the money to NIL, I think they'll just kind of scale it down instead of tearing it down to the ground. They'll, remodel it, so to speak. But I'm of the hope that they do tear it down to the ground. It really needs done, in my opinion.
Wow. I mean, that is really, really expensive. I'm going to have my buddy Yan Cowart. I saw him Monday night, architect, on, who does a lot of sports stadiums, construction, all over the place, and got to get him on here to get him to talk about, the real, how this stuff works. And again, he's not doing that Ole Miss job, but it will be interesting to get the tape, because it's real money. And that's a lot of money, $350 million. And in college, Yancy, we always take pride in how old our stadiums are, not how new they are. And the vault, how old is the vault?
There's a lot of talk, though. There's a lot of talk amongst the Ole Miss fan base. Why spend $350 million on the home side and put that away and try to do another major fundraiser and just build a new stadium? So there's a lot of support in holding that money and just trying to build a new stadium down the road.
Wow. I mean, same location? I mean, see, again, that would be.
Why does it have to be in a different location?
Yeah.
I mean, you just sacrifice one season and play somewhere else and just rebuild it where it is, tear it down to the ground. I don't see a point in moving it. Now, there's some talk that they would like to build it over there where the old Tad Smith Coliseum is. It's certainly large enough to host a football stadium, but I don't see a point in moving it over there. I think if it were me, I would just tear it down to the ground and rebuild it right there.
Wow, that I never even thought about that in a college stadium in the SEC, the vault, starting from scratch. So, hey, that's going to be interesting to watch. Yancy, Rebel Yell Hotline. I don't know if y'all have talked about that on there, but folks, every Monday night, 6:00, Sports 56 WHBQ and Super Talk all over Mississippi. It is a great show. Yancy, golly, tearing down, and is that gaining traction? Last question.
There's a lot of support.
I'll tell you that, and I know the administration is definitely giving it some thoughts. If you raise $350 right now, you try to raise another $500 million, maybe in two chunks over the next few years, and it costs you probably around $1 billion, I would say, to build a really, really quality stadium. So it can be done. I mean, you look at Baylor, what they did for $250 million, and I don't know if you've seen Baylor Stadium, but it's fantastic.
It is.
So, I know old is great and all that, like you said, in tradition, but, things are changing and people want, it's all about, being fan friendly, so to speak, and premium seatings and larger seats and better video boards and better concession stands and all that kind of good stuff. So I wouldn't rule it out one day, especially if Lane keeps winning now. I do know this, if the season tickets are getting back to where it was pre-COVID, it's definitely larger than it's been over the last 2 or 3 years with the season tickets. I don't know where they are right now, but I think it's pretty much close to filled up. I know some of the individual games are already sold out. So the fans are starting to come back. As we all know, winning brings the fans back no matter what.
Yeah. Well, look, a lot of big Americans, 2 seats for every fan. Just that's it's going to be. I mean, look, we got people riding around in Walmart on a golf cart or a scooter. I never thought I'd see that, but you see it. And look, Yancy, let's do this again next week. Thank you so much. Great stuff as always. And just out of curiosity, if you're over at the Beacon this week, I'm curious, are they talking about, my God, they going to tear down the vault, and it ain't right. We'll see how that happens. Okay. But anyway,
yes. Check out the Rebel Yell. We'll have Troy head coach John Summerall that worked at Ole Miss before he went back to his home school of Kentucky. Really a good guy, good friend of mine that he's doing an outstanding job. He'll be at a Power 5 school one day, but we'll have Coach Summerall on, and then we're really aiming to get all the head coaches on the Rebel Yell each week that Ole Miss is playing. So it's going to be good times on the show. You listen to it on any Super Talk station inside the state of Mississippi or WHPQ in the state of Tennessee. So look forward to the programs.
I always love having you on, Yancy Porter. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Always enjoy being on. You two take care. See you, Jimmy.
All right.
See you, Yancy.
All right, that is the Ole Miss Rebel Report brought to you by Gateway Tire and Service Center. We go the distance for the communities where we do business and for our customers. Gateway Tire and Service. Johnny Ballpark Franks up in Nashville does a great sports radio show Mondays at 5 p.m. Central on the UMP, the smartest city in the state of Alabama. Huntsville, home of another very smart person, Ray Mooring, Phil Thompson, Todd Foray. It's a great city. And one thing we want to talk with you about, I always love it. You're a Florida State grad. You've interviewed more Heisman Trophy winners than anybody, over 13,000 guests on your shows so far. And there's a long way to go. But man,
we all hope that that's the case. At least I do.
Yeah,
personally.
Absolutely. Hey, I love 85-year-olds that buy puppies, man. That's optimism, you know. You know what confidence and optimism are. We're going fishing for Moby Dick. We're going to Costco to buy extra tartar sauce. We're going to do well. But let's talk about the big picture of college football. Had a great discussion with you last week, Johnny, about Florida State. I remember you were there when Bobby Bowden came in, what he built, and it drives me crazy. What is Florida State doing to try to close the gap with the money that the Gators have? And Miami struggles with it too. It's a private university, but Florida State's got a lot of boosters. It's ranked as one of the top 20 public universities in America. It's a state with a ton of money. I'm just curious, what are you hearing that they're doing to try to get their facilities up so they cannot be used against them, their lack of facilities in recruiting?
I mean, the problem that you just brought up, I mean, we look at different states and who are doing well year plus into name, image, and likeness. And, you know, Texas A&M, Ohio State, Alabama, they are the haves, and everybody else is trying to be in that category. In the state of Florida, you mentioned the Hurricanes, you mentioned the Gators. I mean, Florida State, unfortunately, Florida State does not have the kind of boosters and support that the University of Florida has. And so, you know, yes, I know Florida is a huge state. One of the things that does help Florida State, unfortunately for them, the name, image, and likeness didn't happen just after 2013 and 2014.
Yeah.
But for so many years, Florida State, even now today, if Florida State's on and you're not a Florida State grad and you're just a college football fan, Florida State will still pique your interest. That's why we see Florida State playing by themselves a lot on Sunday nights and Labor Day night during Labor Day weekend. Like this is the case this year with Florida State versus LSU on that Sunday night. They got the landscape by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why Florida State is still a name in the college football world. Unfortunately, if you're a Florida State fan, it's been a few years since Florida State has been relevant, not just in the ACC, but on the national scale.
Well, and that's what Jimmy and I and you and everybody listening, we all love college football, but man, that iconic brand. I mean, you know, Gene Deckerhoff, you know, he just stepped down. I hate that, but golly, had to have been 40 plus years, just that setting on a Saturday night, Doak Campbell, you know, Gene Deckerhoff, here come the Florida State Seminoles onto the field with Chief Osceola aboard Renegade. He'll throw the spear at midfield, and this crowd is on their feet. Ladies and gentlemen, it's football time in Tallahassee. God, I love going to games. I've been to several games at Tallahassee. Incredible atmosphere. Want to get that back again because that's great for college football. People say, well,
I mean, he's the voice, not only was, and of course he stepped down after this past year, but he was the voice of Florida State and Tampa Bay as far as the Bucs.
He would do Saturday,
in fact,
Sunday.
I just got an invitation last week in the mail. They're having a special get-together at a Boosters home in mid-September, and I've been invited to that to say and hear some of the old Gene Deckerhoff stories. God. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it or not, but it was an honor for me to even get an invitation like that, because I remember when I was in college, the radio station I was working at, I was actually a radio DJ, a music DJ, top 40 DJ.
There you go.
And Gene Deckerhoff would come in and cut his sports reports It was in the same building as one of the stations his reports were heard on. So I go back to early 80s as far as knowing Gene Deckerhoff. But, the problem we will find, and this is the part that's going to be tough for your college football fan, especially those that are not considered quote unquote boosters, that maybe they're not even season ticket holders. Maybe they can put together where they can go once a year to see them play. Maybe the family of four gets together and see Florida State or any of these programs across the country. It comes down to money now. I mean, let's just don't even pretend. It's not just the TV contracts. It's the money to be able to pay these players as far as name, image, and likeness to get them to say yes. Because if you're offering and another school's not and everything else is equal, guess what? They're going to go to the program where they can maybe earn $2 or $3 million in 3 or 4 years playing football for a university.
Yeah, and I will say this among a lot of fans I talk to. In fact, I don't really find people that support NIL. They don't like it. Now, there's some big boosters that are stepping up and doing it, but they're not going to do it forever. They're not going to do it by themselves. They're going to say, look, I'll do it to a point. I want people to jump up. All right, looking at the college football season, it's depth charts, it's X's and O's, it's strategy. We're about to kick up to, let's be honest, 240 hours away from the start. Well, 264 for Florida State at LSU. Talk about.
Did you guys hear this quote, by the way? Speaking of football season, it's still talking season.
Yeah.
And Jimmy and Rob, I want you to weigh in on this. The smack talking coming from the director of player development for football from Hawaii, Jeff Reinbold. Remember now, Hawaii, they don't have a stadium now until 2026. Aloha Stadium, which was built in 75, it's been considered rundown. So they're doing away with that stadium. And so they're going to be playing their college football games over the next 3 seasons in a complex that barely, and I don't even think they get to 9,000. I think it seats somewhere 8,000 plus. There's a lot of high school football teams across the country that would be embarrassed to play in this stadium. And yet you have this guy saying, quote unquote, Vanderbilt has no idea what they're getting into as far as this atmosphere on Saturday night in Hawaii.
Holy cow. The Vanderbilt Football Report is brought to you by McSweeney Mortuary. Go ahead.
Well, he probably meant that.
It's 9,000 and it's going to sound like 90,000.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. It's like, come on, it's not even closed in. It's like there's no way to keep those cheers, and it's not like they're doing the chop like from Florida State standpoint.
Yeah.
It's like, give me a break.
Yeah.
And this is following the bowl fiasco in which Memphis and all their supporters flew over to Hawaii to play a game, and then the night before the game, our guys tested positive. We had too many guys. We're not going to be able to play tomorrow. I hope you guys enjoyed the trip. Maybe we'll play again in 15 years,
Absolutely.
And then the coaching fiasco with Todd Graham, players revolting. The AD tried to stand behind him and keep him on board, but the backlash was so long they had to make a change there. I mean, it's a complete mess. I mean, it just seems like all the intangibles are there for a Vandy to honestly win this one convincingly. But if they don't, I guess we'll.
Well, they better win, because it's only one of the two I have them winning the entire year, because I do have them going winless in the SEC. Right. I have them only winning this one and against Illinois, and that's it. They're going to go 2-10 this year, so that is including a win against Hawaii. So if they don't beat Hawaii, it's even going to be a longer season for the Commodores.
Now,
but I do think they're absolutely improving, because if you remember last year, they had South Carolina beat. And then South Carolina had to drive 80 yards in the last minute, to win the game. And for some reason, Vandy just kind of stayed in a prevent defense and just gave.
And what does that mean, Jimmy?
Throw the ball.
If you win by 4 touchdowns, or if you lose on a final drive of a game, what does that still mean?
You lost.
You got the W. Yeah, yes. Come back and win it. But hey, when you talk about this 9,000-seat high school stadium, people don't remember that until SoFi Stadium was completed which is now obviously the new home of the Chargers and the Rams.
Right.
The Chargers were playing in that soccer stadium for 3 years.
But at least that seats
30,000.
30,000, so that was nice. This thing is some kind of complex on campus that they've converted into being able to field football. And I mean, it looks every bit of the part of a high school stadium, and not even a really good high school stadium.
Johnny,
I thought the soccer stadium was about maybe 23, but I'm sure that Goodell was cringing though when you look at a seating capacity, of what they have. But still, those strange things can happen during a stadium renovations, and the fact that Aloha Stadium only lasted more than 40 years here. That they might have cut a few corners, when they first built that stadium. So again, if you can't laugh, though, you'd cry.
Yeah.
With some of these situations
You
and
will.
how these major entities are run in some places.
Johnny, throwing back at you, you live in Nashville. And I want to address this when we come back, because you are, run around, everybody in Nashville. And I'm just curious if, Vanderbilt's a charter member of the SEC. So, they could leave the conference and they could come back and rejoin if they wanted to. But, if they can't get it together in football, and I don't want to hear, look, I have family members, relatives that went to school there, graduated, but look, everybody has academic standards. They're not the only ones that have them. I'm just wondering if people in Nashville hear the talk of other schools and fan bases saying, look, Vanderbilt's getting all this money, yet their football program, they had some success with James Franklin. What are they really bringing to the table? In a business deal, if 1 and 1 don't equal 3, crazy math, I get it. It's not a good business deal. So when we come back, I want to get Johnny Ballpark Frank's take on Vanderbilt, going forward with all this change, what he thinks might happen after this quick break.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Johnny, let's get this thing going. I'm just curious. Vanderbilt, been in the SEC since a charter member, 1933. Sewanee was, Tulane was, Georgia Tech was. Sewanee got out in 1940 after 8 years of membership. And they lost every SEC football game. But I just, you got investors and you got takers. And Vanderbilt football really has been a taker for a long time. And they've had success in basketball. They've won 3 SEC championships. Hell, Auburn's won 4. Memorial Gymnasium never had a losing season until Bryce Drew came along. And it's just like Vanderbilt basketball has been struggling to get back up off the ground. Vanderbilt baseball, 2 national championships with Tim Corbin, and the women's bowling team has brought home the national championship trophies. But look, football drives the needle. If you don't know that, you've been living in a cave or you've been living in your basement campaigning. I don't know. But reality is going forward, these checks are going to get bigger and bigger. And the SEC office has got to be saying to Vanderbilt, and I know that they've supposedly committed $300 million for athletic facilities, but is there talk up there to people up there go, maybe we need to go to another conference? I don't want them out, but At the same time, every member in this conference, you've got to be bringing a lot to the table, or else what's the point of the partnership? I mean, don't tell me the academics. We know Vanderbilt's a good school and all like that, but so is, Georgia. So is Tennessee.
Well, you stole my thunder with the whole Swanee thing, because I was going to use that as a reference, because Swanee, you're right, a charter member of the SEC, never won an SEC game, and basically left the SEC a few short years going into it. As far as Vanderbilt's situation, and I asked Clark Lee about this during SEC Media Days about the what type of support are they getting with name, image, and likeness, and nobody will ever publicly say this, but my opinion is ever since the rape scandal and what happened with the football players and their whole rape situation under James Franklin's watch, because James Franklin was winning, but it came with a cost in the eyes of some of these boosters who don't really care about sports as far as Vanderbilt University.
Yeah.
And I will always believe that sports and academics on a campus, I don't care how great your academics are, they can live together, and one can certainly enhance and help the other.
Yeah.
But I think that ever since the whole rape situation came down earlier last decade, I think that really changed the eyes of, we don't want to be that. And so, yeah, you mentioned baseball, you mentioned bowling. Great. As I throw out some of these stupid decisions made by Vanderbilt with regards to the athletics program, here we are in Middle Tennessee, a hotbed of softball players, and yet but here's Vanderbilt, the only team in the SEC without a softball program.
Correct.
Yes, they're getting ready to add volleyball, but Middle Tennessee has incredible softball players. Why would you not want to take advantage of that and add another team to your athletics program that actually can win inside the SEC?
Well, I'm just curious, with what Vanderbilt gets from the SEC, what are they spending organically that they're not getting from the SEC in terms of fundraising? There's got to be a fundraising arm for the university. Again,
Oh, it's great. No, the fundraising arm is wonderful, but it's why you got all these beautiful new buildings on campus.
I'm talking about athletics fundraising.
Oh, they keep now. Recently, they've been saying the right things, but I guess my question will be: look, you know how most programs inside the SEC and throughout the country will have sidewalk fans, and what I mean by that are fans of programs that never set foot on campus as a student, and yet they support these programs. Vanderbilt, I go back to the late 90s, early 2000s. I even had season tickets for football. And once I gave them up, guess how many phone calls or email? I have not changed my phone number, have not changed my address. When I gave them up, guess how many letters or phone calls that I've received asking me to renew?
Zero.
Yeah, none.
Of course.
And that's my point. And I've always suggested this. I'm one of these guys on the radio. When I point out problems, I also point out solutions. You've got 10,000 plus students. They're most of them are liberal arts students. I wanted to give them true working experience that they could put on their resume that would help them when they get out in the job market. I said, make it mandatory. One semester, one of their classes, one of their responsibilities is to go out and reach out to some of these corporations inside of Nashville. Look, these corporations, they don't have to go to the games, but guess what? They can give the tickets to an upcoming game to their best employee of the week or to underprivileged kids. The list goes on and on and on, but make it mandatory as a class, as part of your graduation requirements, is to represent the school in the public, because it would give you great experience to help you as far as trying to sell yourself in the workplace when you graduate. Secondly, it would help the university. I mean, these are kind of ideas that Vanderbilt is common sense kind of things.
Yeah.
But to me, Vanderbilt is a program where it's almost like they look down their nose at you if you're not a Vanderbilt graduate.
Yeah, and you can't be that way. Look, Charlie Pell, I've said this for a long time, and the more we've interacted with Buddy Martin, Franz Beard, Ben Troop, the great folks at GatorbaitMedia.com, the more it backed up what I always felt like. Charlie Pell was the man that opened the eyes of America to the Gator Nation. And they said, oh, absolutely he did. He got the Gator fans to start wearing their colors, even the ones that didn't go there. That doesn't mean you're a bad person because you didn't go to a school. You can still pull for them. But I think in the case of Vanderbilt, they've got to decide, split or get off the pot.
Well, here's the other problem too for Vanderbilt. I mean, look at Alabama, Georgia, Florida. These fan bases, they look at, okay, what road game do we want to go to this year?
Yeah.
Nashville, destination city, right?
Yeah.
Fun to spend a few days hanging out downtown at the honky tonks.
Yeah.
And so what is happening is there's no incentive for Vanderbilt in these conference games. If Alabama's on your schedule, you can count the game is going to be sold out.
Yeah.
If Georgia's there, sold out. LSU, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they're sold out with the fans of the other teams.
Yep.
So if you really want to get Vanderbilt really involved here, making better decisions, maybe you make a requirement so you limit the number of tickets that can be sold to the fans of a particular team that's traveling. Maybe it punishes them, but in the long run, it would make Vanderbilt really be held accountable.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. You got to have accountability. And they're getting these big checks, and these checks are about to get a lot bigger. They've talked about spending money before, but they hadn't done a damn thing to Dudley Field, Vanderbilt Stadium in forever. And again, it is a great destination. Auburn, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee, they just take over the stadium. And if I'm Vanderbilt, and they ought to reach out to the alumni and say, what do we want to do? They ought to, ask them, do y'all want to remain in the SEC? Because, look, I've had enough of the snide comments, Vanderbilt, at least we have academic standards. Put a sock in your mouth and shut up. I don't want to hear that from people. You know what I mean? They say that because it's a really good school, but Ole Miss has the number 4 accounting school in the country. Vanderbilt, where's your accounting school rank? I mean, you've got it. People need to think about that. But I just want to see Vanderbilt. Personally, I'd like to see them do better. And I'm just going, when it's got to matter. And it's curious. Again, what you're saying, you just painted the best picture anyone's ever done for us, Johnny. Thank you.
I mean, I have an undergrad degree from Florida State. I have an MBA from Tennessee State. When I'm hanging around Vanderbilt grads, do I feel inferior educational wise with these individuals? No, because I also have common sense as well as, the ability to, some of the, and I will always say this, and this is true, some of the dumbest people I've ever been around in my life are presidents of universities.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Yes, I understand they have PhDs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But being in a room, especially when you're talking about common sense decisions, I mean, we had a former president at TSU decided to valet his car outside of an Italian restaurant off of West End near Vanderbilt. And guess what? That car ended up in Arizona. You know why? Because that restaurant didn't have a valet.
Hey, listen, you're right.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
No. Well, look, the Irish setter is probably the most purely bred dog. It has been historically of all dogs, but they're also hit by cars more often. What does that tell?
There's some logic there.
Yeah.
You have to look for, I like the logic. I see where you're going there.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, and here's a question. Here's a question from Artemis Pyle in Live Oak, Florida. He says, what does the SEC demand in terms of accountability from Vanderbilt University? Honestly, do they ask them to improve? Do they put them on hey, you got to get to this point or you're going to be fired like they do with people in sales? Good question.
I mean, somebody this week I pointed out this on Jimmy on my Facebook page that there's been 3 Heisman Trophy wins outside of non-quarterbacks to win the Heisman Trophy since 2000. All 3 of them played at Alabama. 2 running backs, Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry, and of course wide receiver Devontae Smith. When I posted that, somebody said, "Why don't you talk more about Vanderbilt?" And I go, "Well," I said, "when they win a Heisman, I will, or even better, when they win a conference game."
Well,
yeah. Hey, one of my all-time favorite writers, LOL, Dan Walken of USA Today.
Oh.
You remember back in 2017 when Vandy had started out like 2-0, they'd upset Kansas State, and they were playing Alabama at Dudley Field, and the spread was 19. And Dan Walken goes, "Yeah, I don't even know if Alabama can score 19." And after a 59-0 stampede,
They were kneeling down too, by the way, at the end of the game, because I was there. Alabama was kneeling down, so it could have been in the 60s if they wanted it to be.
Oh golly, it was like 35-0 in the first 10 minutes. It seemed like, and it was like about 98 degrees. I remember that.
Whichever, but you're knocking on Dan. I think it's even worse what I did. I actually wrote a lengthy historical column on upsets of number one teams in the country prior to that game. Because, here's Vanderbilt never beating a top 5 team, much less a number one team. And so I actually pointed out all the historical wins over, with unranked teams over number one teams in the country leading into that ball game. And after the first series, I realized this is not going to happen. It doesn't help either when you've got a Vanderbilt player after that win against Kansas State said, "Alabama, you're next." You don't need to poke the bear anymore.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the end of the Derek Mason regime. It went pretty much downhill after that. But again, I think Vandy's just in a unique situation. Even though they're a charter member of the SEC, I am not 100% sure though that they can't. If it were a vote of other ADs, that they could be ousted. Because I am aware of charter members in other leagues that have been ousted. But again, though, they've got to make a decision really in football, because again, it's just so prominent now, especially in the SEC, and they are going to be getting a big share of that conference money, especially once Texas and Oklahoma come in.
They get equal shares as Alabama and Georgia and all that.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be almost $100 million a year.
But you know who doesn't want it to happen though? Who doesn't want it to happen? The other programs inside the division that Vanderbilt's in, because these coaches know that they can get at least one win. That's because it's tough to get wins, and especially road wins inside the SEC. So you've got at least 6 of those programs. If right now, of course, it's going to be changed when we go into probably these 14 pods, or where you have maybe 3 permanent members and then 6 rotating scheduled games. Because I do believe we're going to be going to a 9-game conference schedule. But those are the ones that can count on the easy W, are the ones that will probably be against that idea of bouncing Vanderbilt out.
Johnny,
as a matter of fact, it's almost official. It's pretty much baked in the cake now. It is going to be a 3-6 format. But now, though, that may only be in effect, if both the SEC and the Big Ten eventually advance to 20 or even 24. But you are going to see the 9-game format, certainly by the time Texas and Oklahoma come in.
Yeah. Johnny, one more question before we go. About out of time in this segment. This is great stuff with you. Your top 5 Heisman preseason contenders.
Believe it or not, I've got 3 from Alabama. I have Bryce Young, obviously, just because he's the reigning Heisman Trophy winner.
That helps.
Look for Jahmyr Gibbs. But here's the thing, though. If you're a football team and you know that your running back is going to be unstoppable, and even Will Anderson talked about how tough it is to stop Jahmyr Gibbs when going up against him, day in and day out in practice. So Gibbs, to me, will be one of those guys, because I think he's going to get 1,500 plus yards rushing. And Will Anderson, to me, it could be the first true defensive player ever to win the Heisman Trophy. Yes, I know Woodson won it, but Woodson also had the benefit of returning kicks too.
Yeah.
But to me, Stroud is the guy. But because I have Kentucky winning the SEC East, going 7-1 in conference play, having a solid year, my dark horse is still Will Levis, the quarterback for Kentucky.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's going to be this. I just love it. I mean, we actually have football Friday night, Johnny. Nevada's playing. There's some games out there. I mean, obviously Vanderbilt is playing in the locker room at Hawaii. I mean,
and they will get a win. I've got a win for them. I got a win for Nebraska against Northwestern, which will one of these teams has to end their 6-game losing streak.
Yeah, they'll be in the Shillelagh Bowl over there in Dublin. that maybe they'll all go to the Book of Kells and see all the great Irish, the heraldic scroll of Irish names. Johnny, always love having you on. I mean, but
thank you. I love visiting with you guys.
It's a treasure. And listen, I would absolutely do Star Jacks 100 yards out and back, which is a very punishing exercise you do when kids mess up in practice. If I could get Gene Deckerhoff on this show, I mean, absolutely love him. Johnny Ballpark Franks comes out to midfield with Chief Osceola, the spear in his hand and a bottle. He's gonna throw it. Oh my! He throws it, and that guy's voice is iconic.
I will work on getting him on your show.
I mean, look, I know you. I'm saying we would love to. I would be honored. He's one of the.
I will ask him for you two. I will ask,
and I will help you with anything you ask me for. I promise you that. But I'm just saying that Florida State football. I have so many memories of it over the years. Watching all these great games. Over the years, Johnny, and we just need to get them back. Well, we've run out of time, but man, Johnny, real quick, they can follow you how?
The best thing to do to keep up with everything I'm doing, just follow me on Twitter at BP Frank Show, and you can also find me on Facebook with Johnny Ballpark Franks. Simple as that.
Hey, thanks so much. Have a great week. We'll be right back with the Rocky Top Tailgate Report from Knoxville on more Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, get your mason jars out, corn squeezings and stuff. We're going over to Knoxville. Mark Hamm, Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report. Love having you on here, Mark. Your tailgate's getting ready, getting all the Blue Note and whatever you're going to have up there at your tailgate. But Tennessee, a lot of people out there are getting on this Vol momentum, and they should. I think Tennessee's going to be good. I don't know if they're going to win 12 games or not, but they better expect to win them. College football season, 240 hours away from, really the big weekend of the SEC. We got games, in 48 hours, Nevada plays. But, Mark, break all this stuff down. You have been through, let's just go. After Phil Fulmer stepped down, you had 1 year of Lane Kiffin. You had 3 years of 3-star Derek Dooley in his orange pants. And then you had, Butch Jones, Eddie Munster Jr. He came on there. Then you had, Shatner from the original movie, The Longest Yard, Jeremy Pruitt, who could flat out coach, but he went to the Joe Stalin School of Charm. And now you got Josh Heupel, probably one of the most misspelled names in college football. Listen, Mr. Heupel, how do you spell that? But I think this guy can coach. You got Danny White as your athletic director. Man, 100,000 plus. You're selling a lot of season tickets. Excitement, getting to a fever pitch up in Knoxville. I'm going to let you take the ball as we do with all of our guests and let you run with it.
Man, we have so much to unpack here today. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Just want to make sure. So you said run with it. I don't know if we're going to run at all. We're going to throw it around a lot this year, though. So yeah. I think we're definitely going to throw it. But look, we're excited. We were talking last night. I met with my tailgate buddies. One of the guys that I've been tailgating with for, I don't know how many years now. We said this is our 10th year of Tailgate Tennessee. He owns Tailgate Tennessee up here in Knoxville in the Circle Park, and him and his name's Terry Turner and Jimmy Call and Ty Kirby, Dr. Kirby, and myself have been tailgating for, I don't know, 20 years together. So long story short, we meet every year for dinner, and we talk about the season. And we got together last night, and we might have had a drink or two, but we talked about what's coming up. And Terry told me, because he sells, all those tents for $3,500 a game, and ours is comp because I bring all the barbecue. But he said he's got more tents sold this year than he's ever had in the 10 years of doing this. So it tells you that people are really excited. They expect a whole lot. And you can just spell Coach Hype, but just call it HYPE, Coach Hype, because there is a lot of hype up here. And I'm telling you, it's going to be off the chain. I mean, we were sitting there last night talking about, before we just, we have our tailgate's pretty open. We let anybody in that are friends. We don't charge anybody. But last year, as it got a little crazy, we had to go to wristbands. And we're talking about we may have to do wristbands again, because if not, we'll have 300 people in there.
Kind of like Barbecue Fest.
It's just like Barbecue Fest. I mean, it really is. I mean, and we love having people come in. And we all pay for it. We have barbecue. We get World Championship barbecue that's there that me and my buddy cook, and you got, a full bar, and we have a great time. We got TVs and couches, and we have the largest tent around, and coaches' wives are right next to us. So, we keep it rolling, but we're going to probably have to put some rules around it, because when we start winning, it's like a cage lion up here. People are ready to jump out and just make this thing happen and go crazy. So there's a lot of hype up here.
You know what you just put to rest, and I totally agree with you. All the people that 2 years ago said, well, college football fans are going to find something else to do with their time. They'll lie about what they're doing with their time, but they really want to be back at the game. Just like if you're an injured player and the guy that filled in for you while you're recovering from a sprained ankle, you're on the sidelines, you're glad he's doing well, but you're also going, I got to get back out there and get my spot back. That's the way college football is. Fans are chomping at the bits. You saw it last year, attendance down just a little bit, but you can feel it up there. And I love it, Mark, because you got Ball State coming in there for your first game on Thursday, September 1st. So really for you, you're only 192 hours away from the start of the college football season. Now, is your mom going to let you stay out late on a Thursday night? I mean, you got to talk about that.
It's a school night. It is a school night, but so my son, I got him moved in up here a couple weeks ago, and he's in, he's Sigma Chi, and he was in the fraternity house last year, but he's in duplex, and there's 4 on each side, all of his fraternity brothers. So they all told me that they're definitely coming by, as they always do. As they are on their way to the game, I look up, and there's about 15 Sigma Chi's and about 10 sorority girls that all come by, and they want a glass of water.
Yes, of course.
I give them a glass of water and make sure they're hydrated.
Yes,
a little Gatorade, and then they just go right into the stadium, because we're right there next to the entrance.
Well, I love that. I love your honesty, Mark. And then you got to go up there September 10th and play at Pitt. It's just ever since Connie Majors was there, won a national championship, came back to Tennessee. Like this is what we love.
Oh, we're winning that game.
Yeah,
we're winning that game. I mean, Pickett's gone, the wide receivers gone. If we'd had Hooker last year, I mean, we could have beat them. So we're winning that game. And I'm telling you something else. As I said, I was in Athens yesterday. I've been in Athens every week for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah,
my daughter's going to school there. Yeah. And I had to take her car down to her because she could get a parking pass. Well, I'll take it down. It's her birthday, so I had a birthday with her. And I just looked at her, and I'm going to say it again. I said, we're winning. And me and your brother are coming down, and we're winning in Athens. So just get ready.
Hey, quick question. Jimmy may disagree or not, but both of y'all, Jimmy growing up in Clinton, you growing up and living in Knoxville, growing up in Collierville, but bigger hills, Knoxville on campus or Athens? Because, man, that one outside the stadium, I walked all over campus October 16th for the Kentucky-Georgia game. The people over there, the men and women in Athens, you're going to have great-looking legs because you are going to be hiking the hills. But what do you think's got the toughest hills? Give me your choice. Knoxville or
Well,
Athens?
that's a pretty steep one behind the home field, the home press box side at Sanford Stadium. But from a quantity standpoint, absolutely Tennessee.
Oh, we've already got a rivalry going.
But and I will say, Mark, as a fellow Sigma Chi, say to your son in Hoke, Sigma Winke. In this sign, you will conquer the White Cross. But anyway, and also Johnny Majors, a dearly departed alumnus we were very proud of. But anyway, and by the way, a lot of former college football coaches out of that membership. But anyway, wanted to, just get an idea how things are kind of shaken out among the fan base, the community, as you are, like, I guess 8 days from the opener against Ball State. Do you just, do you feel kind of the electricity, or as you would say, the fan base is kind of like a caged lion? They're just ready to see this team unleashed on the college football world.
Yeah, I think so. As a matter of fact, I just came down to downtown. I had a meeting down here, but I just drove through campus, because as you know, I was on the way down, and all the students were back, and it was packed with students. And you get into late August, and first September, you get kind of those 80-degree days. It's 78 right now, and you're starting to kind of feel that football in the air with the fall. But and I got to go see my son, who's on campus as well, here in a few minutes. But it's just, you just feel it, and everybody's talking about it. Everyone's excited because there's a lot of press out there right now. I mean, it's my buddy, after our tailgate meeting last night, he sent us something that I guess came in ESPN or Sports Illustrated that said that they had Tennessee like 9th on some poll, like the end of the year of some sort. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of hype. I hope we can, hope we can handle that. But there is a lot of excitement. And, I was up here, I'll date myself, but I started grad school in 96 up here. And, that's when we were really rocking and rolling. I'd taken, a few years off before going back to grad school, but we were killing it in 96, right? We win the championship in 98. I sat outside in a line as a grad student all night long, waiting to get tickets to go down to Gainesville when Peyton was a senior. So that was, I think, fall of 96 or 97.
Seven, yeah.
And, he came out and gave pizzas to everybody and signed autographs. And then, the next year, we win the Natty. But back then it was, starting on Thursday, just the excitement and the people and the fans. And I don't know, I'm kind of feeling, I haven't felt that in 10 or 12 years. And it's kind of like, man, it's starting to get hyped up here again,
Well, that's a good thing. That's what we love about college football. What's the greatest thing? Everybody will tell you can give a fan base, and that's hope. And you got Hendon Hooker back. Mark, you're very good at breaking down things that move fast for most people and slowing them down to where people can understand what's going on. Talk about that Tennessee quarterback last year, Hendon Hooker, 26 touchdowns, maybe 6 interceptions, transferred from Virginia Tech, a native of Greensboro, North Carolina. He beat out Joe Milton. Joe Milton, same thing happened to him at Tennessee that happened at Michigan. He was good early on. People figured him out. What is Hendon Hooker going to need to do this year better than he did last year for Tennessee to get to the double-digit wins?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't want to give away everything they're talking about up here, but it was in the press, so I'll say it. But I think the up-tempo, I think he knows if you think about it, Milton's got a huge arm.
Yeah.
But, anytime you come in and you play in the SEC and you change, it takes time. And that's why I say we're going to win in Athens. Look, they got 5-star after 5-star, but when you lose your entire defense, you got some great players, but you got some guys that haven't seen as much action, you know? So, Hooker is going to be 100%, 100 times better this year because, they talked about his grasp of the offense now, and it's his team now. And the thing that I was reading about, where I think we're really going to put up some points and win those close games is that he's a great runner. He's got that great spin move, if you've noticed. Whenever the pocket would break down, he would go down and spin and get an extra 5 or 6 yards, and they don't want him doing it as much because they don't want him getting hurt. But from what I'm hearing now, what they're doing is when the play breaks down or the coverage is too tight or the play is breaking down, the receivers know to run a different route so that he's not running. He's going to throw the ball downfield, and there are going to be some people wide open down there if it breaks down, because they're going to know where to go at that point.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot more of, probably a little less of him running, and him, if it breaks down in the pocket, him having the ability to scramble but make that pass. And, when you have a busted play like that, and he's running, well, what are the DBs going to do? They're looking like, oh, shit, excuse me. He's running now. And then, they're going to look back, and then all you need is one little break there, 3 yards. And if he's on the run, well, your wide receivers are open. So I think there's going to be a lot of bigger plays for us that I'm excited about, because, he can sling it.
Yeah, he really is. And, Jimmy, we got about 5 minutes left, but you look at Hendon Hooker, I think he gives Tennessee a chance in every game.
Well, yeah, when you score as many points as Tennessee does, I mean, really, I think their only issue is on the defensive side of the ball. And Jimmy Hamm told us that the one area with this team he's concerned about is their secondary, particularly their corners. Against Purdue last year in that bowl game, they were missing a lot of players, Purdue was, even at wide receiver, and yet they rolled up big numbers. So I know the secondary is a concern, and they brought portal guys in just like everybody else. So I think that'll be a big area of focus to make sure those guys get better as the season goes along. But I would be watchful of that week 2 game in Pittsburgh, because Keaton Slovis, the USC transfer, is he's a really good player when he's healthy. The big question for him is that, it's been a while since he's played, and in week 2, that doesn't give you much time to get ready, against a team that's expected to have a big year, although defensively, they do have some question marks. So that could be a really interesting game. And just as far as college football is concerned overall, the sport is so unpredictable. It's amazing how different a team can look from week to week. Texas A&M, the way they played at home against Mississippi State, I mean, they were just absolutely horrible. Couldn't convert inside the red zone. And then 7 days later against Alabama, they got a quarterback that looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate. So you just can't predict it. That's why it's so hard to win a national championship, and it's really hard to predict these games.
Yeah, and that's great stuff. And Mark, we got just a little bit left. Your thoughts about Tennessee's defense? Because Jimmy's right. It's not year to year; it's week to week. Hard to predict.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Last year we've talked about this 100 times, but we didn't really have a lot of depth, at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we tried to take on what Nick Saban said to do, but his defense was dominant. He can say it. You just got to score more points than anybody else. I mean, in the SEC, and I mean that's pretty obvious, but you got to score a lot of points. I mean, you got to put up 45, 50 points. So
correct.
The offense is what really did it for us last year. I've been reading that they Coach Hype said, hey, we're probably too deep now on defense with some of the people coming in. But we've also got that the transfer Turrentine, I guess, the guy from Ohio State that was, I think, out of Nashville, that was a 4 or 5 star that's here. So I think we're going to be a little deeper. Our defense obviously was thin last year. Again, if we can do better, or if we went 7 games last year, if our defense is better, can we win 9 games this year with the offense continues to kind of hit on all cylinders? I think that's definitely an improvement for us. And we got a guy named Squirrel White up here as a wide receiver. We got Squirrel, and we do curling up here. So we got Squirrel and Curl. We're gonna be dominating.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, along that line, I mean, we're about out of time. It just flies by. But let's do this again next week. I'm with you, and Jimmy made great points about how A&M at home gets beaten soundly by Mississippi State, and then Alabama comes to town number 1. They win, and that's what we love about college football, isn't it?
Yeah, you just never know. And I think, look, I think Alabama's going to win the national championship this year. I do. I've said it before. I think, again, they win it every other year. And they're not happy about the participation trophy. So they're just loaded. I mean, they're completely loaded. Georgia's going to be good. Don't get me wrong. But I think we might have a chance to go down there and have some fun with them. And if we can put up some points, I think our quarterback's better than their quarterback. So I'll leave it at that. But look, we're talking like, look, if we can beat Pitt and some of these other teams, we may be going in Alabama coming here with us both undefeated.
Yeah.
And talking about excitement, I expect both you guys to be here at my tailgate, and we're doing the show in Knoxville.
Yeah, we will. It'll be fever pitch. We run out of time. Look, everybody, thanks so much. Great show. We'll be back tomorrow. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Go out and help somebody with the expectation to get nothing in return. Don't give to get, give to give. God bless America. We are out of here. Again, see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Central, sidelines.live.